We hope everyone's having a great Friday. I know we're coming to you earlier in the day than we typically do for our live updates, but wanted to get some information out, some recent updates in the article. One is we added some work comp information for those who may be curious about work comp claims as an employer that may be COVID-19 related. There was some changes to the original executive order that actually was stopped, and then actually they passed some new rules and specific to that. So check out the article. That'll give you the information if you're curious. The second is Chicago. You're now in phase 3. And so although our last, I think, video update, we indicated that the date was unknown, about mid this week, the mayor announced that Chicago is now in phase 3. There are some slight differences. And remember, you always have to go with the most strict. So you'll go with the Chicago in a couple of areas, and of course the state in many of the areas in regards to the two plans and which ones you have to follow. So make sure you check out the information, especially as it relates to massage therapy. So we've got some information there for that. Check it out. Last, and this is the most important, I really wanted to get across to everyone, which is what appears to be going to happen from a federal standpoint in regards to the Paycheck Protection program, the Paycheck Protection Plan Clarifying Act that now has been passed not just by the House, but also by the Senate. Although the White House hasn't indicated whether or not the president will sign the bill, all indications are that he will sign the bill soon. That's going to modify a lot of how the whole PPP program works for most of our doctors. A couple of big, huge changes. First of all, they're extending the time frame from an 8-week look back period for forgiveness to now it's going to be 24-week look back period. So much longer period of time to be able to justify the expenses. They're also changing it from 75% of the money must be spent on payroll to 60%. And so they've made it easier for the loan to be forgiven. The rest then can be utilized for the other qualifying expenditures. Now, in that, though, there was a new concession that deals with that 60%. Whereas at the 75% level, you could get some of it forgiven and other of it not, because they extended to 24 weeks and lowered to 60%. They actually made it a cliff. So you either are going to have the loan forgiven or you're not. In other words, if you don't meet the 60% qualifier, then you will not be able to get the loan forgiven at all. So there won't be a portion thereof forgiven. So it's very important to take a look at that and make sure you're familiar. Several other changes. You actually have the full 24 weeks to restore your full workforce to its full capacity level. And you remember in the previous video and in the article, we've talked about a new exception to the restoring to the full level, which is if you make bona fide offers and employees refuse to return, that those are safe harbors. They give exemptions for that. They actually codified that in this particular act, but then added a couple of other things that will allow some forgiveness or better or easier forgiveness when you hit those exceptions. That is, if there is really no functional way to return to your pre-pandemic levels because of the pandemic, then you may be able to qualify for an exemption there. Again, take a look at the article, it gives more details. Also, it extends the loan portion. So if it stays as a loan, then at that stage, if it stays as a loan, so for example, if you hit the 60% mark and maybe only another 20% really qualifies under the additional expenditures allowed, so there's 20% of the loan that would remain as a loan as opposed to forgiven. At that stage, then you would be able to extend that loan from a 2-year time frame to a 5-year time frame. They also codified the 1% interest rate on that particular loan. Additionally, one last small change in this is, one of the things you can do through this process is delay your tax payments, your payroll tax payments. And if you took advantage of the PPP program before, you couldn't do that. They actually codified in this particular law that you will be able to. Now, remember, I said this hasn't been signed by the president yet, but it looks very, very promising. We've been slow in reporting this because we want to make sure it actually has an opportunity to be able to get through both chambers, and we believe that there's a high probability that it'll be signed by the president. I passed both chambers overwhelmingly. In the House, I think it received 1 no vote, and they actually passed it on a voice vote in the Senate. And so, again, overwhelming bipartisan approval for these changes. But we have full details on this information out in the article under the Paycheck Protection Program Forgiveness Loans link. So just check that out at the top. It'll jump you right to that section and walk you through all the information. Hopefully this helps you out, and we will catch you next time we have a live update. Thanks.